Hello and welcome back. Today we are looking at a very important topic under C programming. We are looking at working with function. As always, we begin with hash include standard input output.h, and then we go straight to our main function. So we just declare the function, we create its body, and within the body we begin to declare variable identifiers that we're going to be using in this particular program that we are creating. We are starting with a simple program where we basically are going to get a sum of two integer values. Yeah, we declared a, b, and sum as the variable identifiers, and then we have assigned 5 and 6 to a and b, and then we have sum, which is equals to a plus b. So let's use the printf to see if we can be able to get an output of these particular values, and if we can be able to even get the sum of a and b. So the sum of %d and %d again is %d. So what basically will happen, it will substitute where there is a, b, and c and sum. They'll be substituted within the output of the printf. So let's compile and run and see what we're talking about. Let's give it a name. If you're not saved, you need this is the time where you give it a name. Just think of a simple name that you can come up with. Just type the name without file extension, then compile, run. We get an output. Yeah, there it is. The sum of 5 and 6 is 11. Okay, it's working. So basically what we're going to do is we are going to improve this program until we reach to that point whereby we're working with functions. So let's see, if instead of assigning values to these variable identifiers, what if would let the user to be able to enter these values via keyboard. So we need to inform the user what he or she is entering, and that's why we have the printf that says enter first value. Then we can have our scanf. Remember, it's %d because we are working with integer. And we have a to represent the first value. Let's just test and see before we can proceed any further. Yeah, it seems to be working. 8 and 6 will give us a 14. Okay. So you can just copy that and paste it there and modify it for the second value. Oh, sorry, we had already typed value there. Need to change that to B. Get rid of that. Test, compile and run. Yeah, it's working. It is. So there is a code. Our code is working. Now the user can enter any value. So after having established that it's working, what we need to do is begin to introduce the functions now. See how we can transform this whole program now to be able to allow a user to do this computation using a user-defined function instead of the main function. So since we are trying to get the sum of two values, we can think of maybe sum of as the name of a function. And since two values, then it will have two parameters. We can have int x and y. So what we need to do at this particular point is come up with, just write the function call to that particular function that we have just created up there. Yeah, those are two parameters. Those are the two values that will be carried to that particular function itself during the function call. Yeah, that's what we need. So we need now to return something. We make the function call and then we need to return the sum of those two values. represented by X and Y. It should be working now. And the first value and the second value, yeah, 9, 12 gives us a 21. That math is correct. Okay, so we have the user enters there, and then we do the addition there through the function call, and then the value is returned back to the sum. So that's our function. What if you think of a situation whereby we have the main function start, and then we have the user-defined function coming after the main function? Would it still work? For some IDEs, I understand that it would work, but for the IDE that we're using, it gives us an error. We're using dev C++, and that's the error you've seen there. So what we need to do is just introduce what we refer to as a function prototype. A function prototype will allow or will enable us to be able to run this particular code without experiencing any error, since the function that we have just defined comes after the main function. And to work with a function prototype, you basically just need the type, the name of the function, and if it has any arguments, include them there, and then you terminate. So you do not provide the body of that particular function. There's a type, name of the function, and any arguments, and then you terminate. Okay. So just try to move unnecessary space in there. So there it is. Compile and run. It's working. No issues. It's working. That's good. Okay, there we go. Okay. So that's what we basically refer to as a function prototype. Working with function prototypes and the functions in C programming. Okay, what if we add a third value there? I mean, you can have a function that functions don't necessarily operate with two parameters. We can have a third value there. We need to put it in the declaration there, put an integer variable, a variable identifier there. We can change that to C and then add it there. So now we're calling a function that has 3 parameters. We need to go over here and also change it to ensure that the function that has 3 parameters really exists. Yeah, that is, those are 3 parameters. Now to the main function itself, where the body of that particular function is, we also need to be able to do likewise. Yeah, like that. Then don't forget to add it in the return. Compile and run. Let's test and see if it's working. 4 and the 2, so 7 and see, it's working, but we need to look at our printf. We have we have 2%. We need to add another %d. Yeah, like that. It is okay. Should be working now. And it is. So 2, 4, and 3 will give us a 9. So the math is correct. It's working. Can format our output to make it look much better. Let's put the addition symbol there. And over there, that would be the equal sign. Compile and run. Okay, there, 873. It's working. Now get rid of that function prototype. I do not like working with function prototypes. That's just my style. There are those who prefer to work with function prototypes, but I just don't like it. Okay, so what we need to do right now is test before we proceed. And it is working. Okay. Now the next thing we need to do is we can take it back to work with just to, okay, we can make a function call straight within the printf. Yeah, like that. No need to give a separate statement, so we can put it within the function prototype, within the printf, and let's test and see if it is working. Yeah, it is working. So that helps you to reduce the amount of code that you're going to use in your program. Now that was for sum of. We can do another one for the multiplication. Just paste that there and change it to probably product of. Then let's just stick to the two parameters we were working with initially. So you get rid of z, get rid of z there, and that is multiplication. Okay, that should work now. Products, choice. So if you are thinking of introducing an option for the user to be able to select whether to do addition or to do multiplication, then this implies that we need to create a menu of some sort. So these are simple calculator that we are working with here. Let's give it a title there, simple calculator. There. So we need now to give the user the, you call them, we need to give the user the menu from which he or she would select from. So you can tell the user, please enter your choice from the menu below. Yeah, like that. And now we can create the menu from here. So one would represent addition. And then we can work with 2 for multiplication. Yeah, that looks much better. You should be able to work. So that's the menu the user will get. Change that to choice so that the user can now be able to have an opportunity to enter the choice. And what we need to do now is make a decision based on the choice of the user. So if the user entered 1 as his choice, 1 is for addition, and that takes us to the function prototype, sorry, not the function that we created at the top there, sum of. Just do some indenting there. Makes the program look much more elegant and improves on readability. So we're working with sum of, because 1 is addition and that is the sum of function. So we need to make a call to that particular function. So we make a function call there. And remember, it has two parameters, and therefore we are carrying two arguments to it. We are going to work with else if, because the choices here, or the alternatives that we have to evaluate, might be more than two. So we also make a call to product of function, give it two parameters there. Yeah, that way. And so that one calls that product of function. And we can get rid of that from there. You can take it somewhere else. Yeah, probably there. Let's paste it there. That becomes enter first value. Change that to A, enter second value. And then change that to B. Okay. Yeah. Remember, I said the alternative may be more than two. And for that reason, that's why we're working with else if. And when you're doing else if, you need the default statement. The default statement comes at the else section. So if a user would enter a value other than 1 and 2, then what kind of response does the program give? We can have invalid input, please enter 1 or 2. That is, you're informing the user, the kind of values that are expected in this particular program that is based on the menu, because the menu is only 1 and 2. You can also try to format this. Remember, now we're working with product, and also we're working with sum. Therefore, there is need for us to get rid of that from there and then bring it where we have sum. And then we need to do likewise for product. Just paste it there and make the necessary changes. You don't have a C, so get rid of that. Now this becomes product of. There's a function called to product of. In that one. Yeah. Okay. Compile and run, and let's see if it is working. Oh, there is our menu. There is a title symbol calculator. We need the cursor to go a bit down to the next line. You can take it next line from there. There are many ways to do it, but that's the most simplest thing that you can do. There, yeah. Now the cursor is coming below. So if we enter 1, we are able to be given options. And the first value, second value, yeah, it's working. Okay, if we enter another value such as 2 for multiplication now. Okay, it's working. It's working nice. Okay. So we've been able to enter the first value, the second value. So a situation would arise where the user would enter a value other than 1 and 2. And when that happens, what is the response? It's still giving us an option to enter value 1, value 2, even though the input was not valid. So we need to make that corrections, because the only thing we need to see is invalid input on that black screen there. So we need to look for a solution to that. Choice 1, that's for the sum. Okay. So the best thing that we can do, or the easiest thing that we can do, is for us to make sure that we make the function call without these parameters. Therefore, we get rid of the statements that are allowing the user to enter data. So we get rid of them. We need to get rid of them, select cuts, and then take those statements to the functions, the user-defined functions themselves. Do likewise for product there. So if we go back here, yeah, we can make a function call without parameters. The function call without parameters should be able to work. Okay. We don't need that. Do not even, I don't think we are even going to need to do that, because okay, if you're making the function call to a function without parameters, then we would expect that particular function to be the one that will do the calculation, whether sum or product calculation, and also be able to give us the output. So it's not going to return anything back to the main function. And if it's not going to return anything back to the main function, what we can do is not that it cannot return, but there are different approaches on how you can be able to achieve that. So let's just put that there. You can put it there so that the function can be responsible for the output. You can put it after that. As simple as that. And then we get rid of return xy. You can copy and paste it down here, where we have the product of there. Since we don't have a and b within that particular function, get rid of that. So we change it to x and y. Okay. Once you change it from x and y, what we need to do, we need to make to create our local variables there. No arguments, remember? So you need to do likewise to the sum of function. Declare variable identifiers there. Get rid of those parameters. Let me see. So there we've made that call. That's the function call there, function call without any parameters. Remember that. Even there, we do likewise get rid of that line. Then the main part, the main function is complete as it is. So let's focus on the user-defined functions. Let's test and run. There is an error there. Remember, we're not working with A, we're not working with B. It's X, they're being replaced by X and Y. Let's make sure we replace them. We can change the sum of percentage D plus percentage D. Yeah, we can change our output. We can format the output to come out differently. That is multiplication. Everything within quotes is always output as it is, except where we have percentage D, you're going to see something totally different there. Now, okay, if we enter 5, yeah, it has solved that problem. So if we enter another value other than 1 and 2, it's not giving us the enter first value and the second value. But if we enter for 1, it's giving us that, because that's how the program is supposed to be working. If we enter for 2 and the first value and the second value. So they apply for menu 1 and 2, but any other value, it should not be able to give you that. Let's see what else we need here. So the program is working now. That is, these are the statements for the sum of. Remember, that's a user-defined function. And those are for product. Once we make a function call to product of, then what happens, user is given an opportunity to enter values, and those are the statements that make up that particular function.